everybody. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please remember to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share these with anybody that you think would be blessed by them. That would help me out greatly, and I'm very appreciative. So I want to apologize right off because it's been a minute since I've posted a video, and the reason is because it's been a little crazy around here. Our home had a leak. It's been torn up for about a month, so it's been just a little nuts trying to get everything put back together. We're still in the process of that, but I felt very strongly that today was the day to get back on track and get back to our videos and our weekly postings. So that is over, and we're back to each week posting something. So this has been permeating in my heart for a while. I've been stewing on this, but Jesus always taught in parables. And one of the parables that's found in 3 of the 4 Gospels is the parable of the sower. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, the seed in that parable is the Word of God. The sower is whomever is trying to relay or impart the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And the soil, the actual ground, and we're going to read about it here in just a moment, the ground is each individual person's heart. And Jesus was teaching there that there was basically 4 different types of hearts. So if you're a minister, which we all are ministers in some capacity, so if you're ministering or you're attempting to minister to someone, it's very important to discern what kind of soil you're working with. Because the first type of soil we're going to learn is just hard ground, not much is going to happen. And then there's rocky and thorny and good ground. And of course, we all want the good ground. That's the soil where the seed can actually go in, sink in, produce fruit, and multiply. So I'm going to read out of Matthew. Like I said, it's found in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But I'm going to read the passage out of Matthew. And I'm going to look down here for just a minute, and we're going to talk about it. Okay? So Matthew chapter 13, verses 3 through 9. Behold, a sower went out to sow. And he sowed some seed that fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places where they did not have much earth, so very shallow. And immediately they sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, they were scorched because they had no root, and they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, and 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Okay, so Jesus is explaining these 4 different types of soil. And those soils, again, represent the hearts of people. Now, on the hard ground, he said some just fell by the wayside and the birds came and devoured them before anything could really happen. You know, these are people basically with just the hardened hearts. They are not ready to respond to the gospel. They're just dead. They don't have interest. And it's really not going to do a whole lot to try to minister to these people. You know, even Jesus, when he was walking the earth, he was so in tune with Father. He only went to the people that God directed him to, and he only did what the Father was directing him to do. So that's why he was so successful in his 3.5 years of ministry, because he knew what soil he was dealing with, and he really didn't spend time on the hard, rocky ground. Okay, the next one, that was the hard ground. The next one's the rocky ground. Now this is interesting because the word goes in, but the soil is so shallow that it springs up really quick and then it just dies and withers away because it doesn't have any deep roots. I call these firecracker Christians. And we just had our 4th of July holiday. So it's like, you know, you light a firecracker and it just, it sparkles for a little bit and then it bang and it's over. Well, that's kind of like these people on the rocky ground. They get all excited and they get all pumped up, but it doesn't last. It doesn't last very long. And I also kind of think of these people as like the monkey see, monkey do. You know, they'll go to church and be excited if there's a good service and they just kind of go along with what's happening, but they haven't really formulated in their own hearts a relationship with Jesus Christ. So they're just kind of doing what they see. They're very shallow, okay? Then there's the thorny ground. Now this is an interesting one. I'm going to refer to these, it's kind of stiff, but I'm going to refer to these people as the adulterous type Christians, because it clearly says in there, the word got sown, but then thorns came up and choked out the word of God. It actually means that the cares of life, and Jesus even says over later on in some other scriptures where he's explaining these, that the deceitfulness of riches and things chokes out the word. So this is very deceived Christians. They believe that working and making money and worldly things are more important. So the word gets choked out that was once important. Now other things are taking precedence and it's making them fruitless. Okay. So it's basically those that are adulterous, that other things are more important than the word of God and are choking out the word of God. I bet we all know a lot. We can think of a lot of these type of people. All right. Then lastly, there's the good soil. And obviously good soil is good soil. So the word of God gets sown in these people. It goes in, it takes root. They have depth. They're hungry. And they have a desire to obey the Lord and produce fruit. So what's interesting in this passage is that there's no problem with the seed. The word of God is the word of God. You know, sometimes people get really offended, you know, at the word of God, but it's like, it's not the messenger. There's nothing wrong with the word. It's the soil that someone's trying to put the word in. So if you find the gospel message offensive, it could be that you've got some bad soil, okay? So there's nothing wrong with the seed, but rather it's the soil that someone is trying to implant the seed in. You know, if you have a garden, you have to till up that garden and you have to get good soil and good dirt, and it has to have nutrients, and it has to, you know, just think of it in practical terms. When you're sowing a garden, you have to have good soil before anything's going to produce fruit and multiply. Same way with the word of God. And so to recap, this seed is the word of God, and there's never any problem with the word of God. So if someone's getting offended, it's not the word of God, it's the soil of their heart that's the problem. All right. The sower is whomever is trying to impart the word or the gospel message, and the soils just basically represent the different responses to the word of God. So the soil represents the actual person's heart and what's going on the inside of them. So in ministry, in our lives, as we go about our lives trying to spread the word and share the love of God, we're going to encounter all four of these type soils. And so if we develop our discernment, and you know, when we begin to talk with someone, we'll probably be able to pick out pretty quickly what type of soil we're dealing with. And I just want to encourage everyone, you know, go into all the world, preach the gospel, do what you are put here to do in whatever way that is, but discern what type of soil you're working with. You know, one of Derek Prince's quotes that I love is he says, "I'll tell you how to be 100% successful in ministry. only deal with those that are interested, that are hungry. That is so true. You know, Jesus didn't even waste time on people who didn't want to hear. In fact, he told them, shake off the dust off your feet if they don't listen to you and just go on. So we can save a lot of frustration and a lot of wasted time if we will get a revelation of these 4 soil types, and that we will plant seed in good ground only. So thank you for watching. I love you guys. I bless you with this, and I trust this was a specific message for some specific people today. I love you. Be blessed, and I'll see you on next week's video.